There is one place we meet every day, one thing that is consistent, no matter what season we're in or what's going on, and that is gathering around the table to eat a meal as a family. So, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, well, this is where I share how I restore home, family, and spirit through tried and true homemaking skills. And today I want to take you through a few days, a week of what we are cooking up from scratch in our little kitchen. Summer is a little bit more spontaneous, less structured. Meals need to be a little bit more flexible. And since we like to cook most of our things from scratch, sometimes that means preparing things ahead of time or just cooking some of those easier things from scratch. We are also cooking what is coming out of the garden, what's in season, and what is in abundance. That means zucchini, squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, all of those good things. A lot of the recipes you're going to see today are actually inspired by a zucchini. You're going to see that is an ingredient that keeps popping up. Also, this is kind of new and exciting for my viewers. I have put together a little ebook for you guys. You're always asking me for the recipes and to have them in written form. Now you can get all of them in written form. I've put together a really simple menu plan for the week and a grocery list with all of the printed recipes. You can download it, keep it on your phone, or print it out. So go check that out down in the description box below. This sauce is made with about a half a cup to 3/4 a cup of thick Greek yogurt, 1 small cucumber shredded up, the juice of 1 lemon, some salt, pepper, and I'm going out to garden to see if I can find some dill. In the last video, while I was preserving in the kitchen, you all gave such great suggestions for what to do with your zucchini. One of the suggestions was doing zucchini fritters. This is something that I really do love because you can use lots of zucchini. You start by shredding up zucchini. I just eyeball everything, and I sprinkle some salt over it, let that kind of pull some of the juices out of the zucchini. I'm getting a hot skillet going. And then in the zucchini fritters, I like to add a couple of eggs, about 1/4 a cup of flour per egg, some salt, pepper, and whatever fresh herbs are going on in the garden. So I threw in some basil and some dill. And then I strain out as much water as I can from the zucchini. Throw it all in there, mix it up. I like to go for a pretty thick consistency because those zucchinis are just so juicy. And then I also like to shred in an onion, although you don't have to if you're not a big onion fan, but I think onions make everything taste better. Just a moment ago, I showed a shot of the boxes of zucchini that are on the kitchen floor, the boxes of potatoes that are on the kitchen floor. This is what my kitchen is looking like. This is what it always looks like in the summer. I usually have a huge basket of squash on the counter that's just overflowing, or whatever is coming out of the garden. We have recently pulled up a bunch of potatoes, and trying to figure out where to put that. We have had intentions to put in a root cellar and figure out something for holding cold storage food. And we just have not gotten to it. Life is so busy. But I do have a book about preserving food without a root cellar. I'll try to put that down in the comments below if I can remember. But one of the suggestions is to actually bury a container or a box of potatoes underground. And this idea was intriguing. We had hoped to get to that. Maybe we're still going to give that a try. When it comes to zucchini fritters, I think they are good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. For breakfast, you can serve them up with some eggs. For dinner, you can serve them up on the side of steak. I think they go with anything. And this morning, we're having them with eggs and some tomatoes from the garden with our tzatziki sauce. I fried them up on the skillet. They cooked for about 2 minutes on each side. And it's a great way to get those veggies in, and it used lots of zucchini, and I think they're absolutely delicious. Each week, my goal is to bake a few loaves of bread. I'm usually baking sourdough sandwich loaves. I have my favorite honey wheat sandwich loaf that I make 4 of those each week, but lately I've been making more of those hard artisan loaves. And so that's what I'm whipping up right now. And then I always try to make something extra with my sourdough starter. So I'm going to be making some sourdough tortillas, and we're going to be having some summer style tacos using up some corn, more fresh veg, and just really doing kind of a vegetarian taco today. Because I have plans to take the kids out fishing today, I'm trying to fix something that I can prepare ahead of time, and then when we get back, we can throw it together and eat. Summertime usually looks like doing chores and work and YouTube, whatever it is, in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we're taking the kids to do some sort of fun activity. And it's rewarding for me, and it's rewarding for the kids because the kids do chores with us during the day as well. If I had some meat thawed out or something, that would have gone into the tacos. But because I didn't, I'm throwing together some black beans. And I'm putting in some cumin, some chili spice, a little bit of oregano, salt and pepper, and some dried onions. This is the quickest, easiest way that I know how to make beans. And cooking my beans in the Instapot means I didn't need to soak the beans ahead of time. I'm throwing in about, I think the bag said 13 to 15 ounces of beans in here. So close to 2 cups. And then I added 6 cups of water with all the seasoning. And I'm going to put the lid on this, put it on high pressure for 25 minutes. We're going to be gone. And so it's just going to release on its own. And it should turn out great. If I was here to take the lid off myself, I would probably put it in here for about closer to 30 to 35 minutes. And for the sourdough, it needs a couple, well, maybe a few stretch and folds before we go. When it comes to tortillas, I think they're pretty laid back. I feel like this is something you can't really mess up. So I'm doing a little bit of mixing, stretching, and folding. I think I got in about 2 stretch and folds before I left. It's quite sticky. You can always add a little bit more flour if you need to. But I'm just putting the lid on this, letting it all soak up. It should ferment for ideally about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. You could put it in the fridge overnight, but we're going to leave it here on the counter and we're going to go fishing. This recipe is inspired by one of my favorite cookbooks. It's the Huckle and Goose cookbook. And this is a little drizzle that goes over your tacos. This dressing is 1 cup of fresh basil, 1 jalapeno, juice of a lime, 2 cloves of garlic, and 1/3 a cup of mayonnaise. Pour in a little bit of water as needed into the food processor, but I love just trying new things, trying new flavors. I've never had basil over my tacos, but I'm telling you, the sauce was absolutely delicious. It was a little spicy with the fresh jalapeno, but it was yummy. Also inspired by Huckle and Goose is the charred or blackened corn. That's going to go in our tacos. So this is about 4 ears of corn or 2 cups of fresh corn kernels. And we're going to throw it into a piping hot cast iron with olive oil. And the idea here is to blacken the corn. And it smells amazing. And I loved watching the corn kernels kind of pop in here. And once you get it nice and blackened, but not completely burnt, you throw it into another bowl. And then I'm going to add 1 medium-sized onion. And the recipe called for a green pepper or a bell pepper. And of course, I'm adding a zucchini because I didn't have any peppers at the moment. So saute that all together, season it with some salt and pepper. Really simple. We're going to add the corn back into it. And then we're going to sprinkle it with some fresh tomato and a 1/2 cup of cotija cheese, if that's how you say it. I'm sure my Spanish-speaking husband is going to laugh at me. Cotija cheese. And then we're going to throw it all together in our sourdough tortilla and drizzle it with some of that basil jalapeno sauce. And it's just a little bit different and really delicious. So, lest you think I am a super menu planner, I actually am not. And this week we are taking it day by day. I do have a chalkboard in my kitchen that when I am on top of my game, I put up what we are having that day. I don't cook dinner every single night. I usually make about 3, maybe 4 meals a week. And we eat leftovers a lot. We kind of repurpose and reuse those same leftovers, make new things. So yesterday we mixed together some sourdough to make my sourdough loaves. Usually I shape that and put those loaves into the fridge and bake the next day. Well, last night I was so tired that I forgot about the dough, left it on the counter, and this morning I can tell that the sourdough is overproofed. Your sourdough is overproofed when it has been fermenting way too long, and it just kind of bubbles over. It doesn't hold its shape. It doesn't have that nice elastic tight skin on top. And so we are going to kind of be making some lemonade out of lemons, so to speak. And instead of sourdough loaves, we are going to be baking up some focaccia. So I will give you guys my sourdough recipe that I've been using lately. And instead of shaping into loaves after it has risen and doubled in size, this is the time that you would want to make focaccia, because you want to keep in all of that fluffiness, all those bubbles in there, and put it out onto a sheet pan or a 9x13 pan. I'm drizzling some oil on the bottom, some olive oil on top, and just putting those, famous holes that you see in focaccia, that trademark. It's kind of fun to see the bubbles kind of rise up in between those holes. And then you can just put some sea salt on top and bake it just like that, or you can put some veggies on top or season it with whatever herbs that you want. This morning I'm putting on some fresh garlic and some fresh basil as well, sprinkling it with some sea salt. And then we're going to bake it at 450 degrees until it's golden brown or kind of crispy on the sides. I think it took about 20 to 25 minutes for our focaccia. What I loved about this recipe, or just this idea, was how many things you could make or use the focaccia with. It's a great substitute for having bread in the kitchen. This morning, we're serving it with some eggs, but you could make some breakfast sandwiches with this. You could serve this alongside some pasta or some sauce, but we're going to be using it for a couple different things today. And for lunch, leftovers is what's on the menu. And we are going to use all of the taco toppings that we had last night. We're going to put it over a bed of lettuce, and it's going to make some really delicious taco salads. I also have some pickled beets here that I made last week when I was doing my preserving. I personally love pickled beets, and I eat them as a side with so many things. I know not everyone is a big fan, but I love them, especially alongside a salad. And this dressing that we also made over the tacos is delicious on a salad. I think I would make this dressing just to go on salad. It was so good. And I have tons of this tortilla dough left over as well. So I'm just going to really quickly, I'm not even going to roll these out, just pull these out, flatten them with my hands, and give that to the girls. Myra wanted a quesadilla instead of a salad. And also giving Evelyn some sourdough tortilla with some beans. And for dinner tonight, we're actually going to be having a picnic. We're going to go out on a little family outing, go to a park that we've never been before. So I'm throwing in some focaccia and watermelon, and we're doing just a total charcuterie board for dinner tonight. So simple. Our last meal today is such a classic summertime meal, something I make all summer long, and that is marinating some meat, whether it's chicken, pork, or steaks, in my favorite family marinade, and serving it up with some potato salad and watermelon. And I'm also going to share with you guys a new favorite recipe. It's a zucchini custard pie, and I think it's my favorite pie of the season. But for the marinade, that's 1/4 a cup of soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 1.5 teaspoons of garlic salt, 1.5 teaspoons of ginger, and 1/2 a cup of salad oil. I use olive oil. I put it all in a Ziploc bag with my meat and let that marinate for a few hours, 30 minutes, whatever you have time for. And I'm whipping up my famous potato salad. I've made it with you guys before, and I will put the video down in the description box below where I have shared with you this full recipe. It is just a classic potato salad with dill and celery seed and dill pickles, eggs, and mustard and mayo. And it's my family's favorite. So I'm just making up a ginormous batch, and we will eat on that through the weekend. I'm putting together some pie crust here. This is my mom's famous all butter pie crust, and I like putting it together in the food processor or in my KitchenAid. And I've altered it just a little bit, Mom. I'm doing 1 cube of really cold butter. This butter was frozen. and I'm doing just a little bit more than a cup of flour. It's closer to a cup and 1/4. And then I'm adding some cold water to that and pulsing it until it all comes together. I just like having a little bit more crust to work with. When I was researching recipes for zucchini, I came across this kind of custard-like zucchini, and I had to try it because it calls for a raw, fresh zucchini. And the recipe actually calls for 1 cup of zucchini, but I throw in a small or medium-sized raw zucchini. You put it all together in the food processor, and you skin the zucchini. You could boil it if you want to, but it is not required. And the recipe calls for 1 cup of evaporated milk, 1 egg, a pinch of salt, 1 cup of sugar, a 1/2 cup of flour, a teaspoon or so of vanilla, and you mix that with the raw zucchini all in the food processor. I let it go for a long time until it's completely smooth. And then you sprinkle some nutmeg and cinnamon on top, and I like to sprinkle some sugar on top as well. And then you put it in the oven at 450 degrees and let that cook for 10 minutes. And then don't open the oven, just lower the temperature down to 350 degrees and let it cook for 30 minutes longer. And it's super creamy and smooth and delicious. I've made this pie about 3 times over the past 2 weeks. I've also taken it to a 4th of July party and people loved it. It was delicious. And I just think it's kind of surprising. No one would know that there's a zucchini in this pie. So I knew it was a recipe that I had to share with you guys. In the summertime, it's best to keep things flexible and simple so you can do all the things your family's doing this summer. I've only cooked 3 meals from scratch this week. I have put all of the recipes in an ebook for you guys down below in the description box. For a small purchase, you guys can either download, keep it on your phone, or print it out. I've put a weekly menu planner in there that you can put all your meals in, and I've even made a shopping list for you with all the ingredients in there so you don't have to. I hope it makes life a little bit easier for you and that you enjoy the recipes. If you're going to be making the zucchini pie, it's better if you let it sit for a little bit before breaking into it or putting it in the fridge. Did we do that? Of course not. We opened it right up. It was a little bit juicy, but it was so good, served warm with some ice cream. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you can look forward to a new video next week on restoring home, family, and spirit. And I can't wait to hear from you guys in the comments below. Love you lots.